Hi, everyone. We're here today with Feliciano Live. We're talking about Toys R Us and what went wrong. Our guest speaker today is Dr. Manveer Mann. She's the assistant professor here at the Feliciano School of Business in the Department of Marketing. As we go through our questions, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. We'll get to as many as we can. Our first question is, explain why Toys R Us declared bankruptcy and then recently liquidated.
Hey Phil, so I think one of the main reasons that people talk about why Toys R Us went down is Amazon, but it is much more than that and has been going on for a long time. In 2005, Toys R Us had a leveraged buyout where three private equity firms bought it out and had acquired a $6 billion debt. And in 2007, they were paying about $500 million interest. So their cash flow was really, really bad. They didn't really have any cash to invest in its stores and the online environment. And it's just kind of, has been a long time coming. So really, that is the biggest reason why it went down. But of course, more and more people are shifting online, and toys in general is a very competitive market. And the name brand toys like Hasbro and Mattel, you can buy it anywhere. There's really no differentiation. If you get a cheaper price, a lot of people are picking those toys, and so Walmart gave a lot of competition in that aspect. Amazon did as well. And I think one last point that is also important to consider is that the way kids play with toys has changed over time. Now you see a lot of kids on their iPads, they're using a lot of electronic games, which is in general really had an impact on the toy industry. So those are the main reasons what happened with Toys R Us.
Great. So for those of you who just joined us, we're here with Dr. Manveer Mann. She's our Feliciano School of Business assistant professor in the Department of Marketing. We're talking about Toys R Us and what went wrong. And for those of you who are watching, if you have questions, feel free to ask those questions. We'll get to as many as we can. Our next question is, what impact will this have on toy companies and more so in the retail industry with the liquidation of Toys R Us?
Well, some toy companies have already seen an impact. For example, Hasbro, its revenue declined 20% in the last quarter, and it's saying it's mainly Toys R Us that has led to that. And Mattel also saw its shares drop in Europe because of this liquidation. So it is having an impact on the toy industry. But how big of an impact it will have, that really remains to be seen, because Toys R Us, for example, had a 15% market share last year. And that market share is really being increasingly controlled by its competitors, Walmart, Target, and Amazon. So we will see how that transition happens and who fills that void and how toys in general get impacted. So it really, I think, is to be seen. But definitely in the short term, there has been an impact that Hasbro, for example, and Mattel has experienced.
Great. For those who just joined us, we're here with Dr. Manveer Mann, our assistant professor of Department of Marketing in the Feliciano School of Business. We're talking about Toys R Us and what went wrong with them. As we progress here, please feel free to answer questions, and we'll get to as many as we can. Our next question is, who will benefit most from the Toys R Us closure?
I think the two big entities that can benefit and can really encroach on that market share, that void that Toys R Us has left, is Walmart and Amazon. Walmart, for example, has been very, very competitive in the toy industry. Last year, it included 1,000 more toys in its inventory. It has tried to drop prices quite a bit, and so it's really trying to compete in the toy sector. Amazon, again, is a very big player in the toy industry. I believe in 2016, it had a $2.2 billion revenue, and so that's really much more than Walmart and Target and the others in the market share. So we will see these players come up, and then of course some of the other segments out there like Kmart and even dollar stores might see some uptick in their toy sales.
Great. So our next question is, will private bids be accepted in purchasing Toys R Us?
So there is one investor who is particularly interested in Toys R Us, Isaac Lorin. He's an executive behind Bratz and Tykes. He did submit a bid for, I believe, $675 million for Toys R Us and to keep its 274 stores open and the headquarters. But, bids to save a company can win when there is something profitable or something sustainable underneath that company. But for Toys R Us, that really is questionable because, Toys R Us was selling toys, did not have any cash to invest in its stores, online. It's not necessarily providing any unique and special experience to its users. So really, it has slowly lost its relevance. So it really is doubtful that it can really be saved at this point.
Great. So we have a live question, which is, how does Toys R Us closing affect the economy? Will thousands of people go unemployed?
Yes, that was one of the things that actually the investor put out there, that by saving the 274, stores and the headquarters, it can save anywhere between 10,000 jobs. So we will see an impact on the economy from that perspective, that people are losing jobs, and suddenly there's this whole influx of people now looking for jobs. As interestingly, last week in my retail class, I had some students who used to work for Toys R Us come talk to my class, and they were talking about how they're all looking for jobs right now. So on an economy, yes, it will have an impact from that perspective. But as far as the toy sales goes, again, there are quite a few other avenues where consumers can purchase toys and are purchasing toys. So we will see how big of an impact would it make from that perspective.
Great. For those who just joined us, we're here with Dr. Manveer Mann with the Department of Marketing. She's an assistant professor here at the Feliciano School of Business. We're talking about Toys R Us and the what went wrong with them. We have a couple questions. What could Toys R Us have done differently? And this is a live question.
Well, I think in today's retail environment, it is very, very competitive, and particularly in toys, for example, price is very important. Either you provide very, very competitive prices, or you have to provide some sort of unique and special experience to the end user. And Toys R Us really failed with that. Neither was it providing lower prices than some of its competition, nor were its stores providing some unique, exceptional experience. So if it had, if it had the backing, the cash flow to do those things, the story might have been very different.
Okay, we have another question, a live question. What do you feel is the primary reason that Toys R Us failed? And the follow-up is, how can other retailers utilize this knowledge to avoid making the same mistake?
There are two big points I think that answer this question. One, of course, when companies are working on, when there are leveraged buyouts and when there's a lot of underlying debt, that is problematic, and that's one of the main reasons for Toys R Us's demise. Because of that, the minimal cash flow, it was not able to invest in its stores and its technology, and that's one big reason. And the second big reason is, you have to try to carve out a special place in the consumer's mind, whether it is from the perspective of price, or it is that, you walk into a store and it just gives you an unforgettable experience. Kids having the experience of interacting with toys, or in some way or form, it should be special and unique, and that, I think, is very, very important in today's marketplace. Consumers are looking for that unique experience or really low prices.
Okay, we have another live question. So according to the changes in the toy industry, how could toy companies survive today with all the advanced technology?
It is a very relevant question, and I think a lot of toy companies are asking that to themselves. And some of the things that we are seeing is that some toy companies are coming up with toys that relate to latest trends, like Marvel movies, Star Wars. There are companies who are investing in electronic toys. When you are in the toy industry, you have to be very, very attuned with how is the consumer using toys, and how are the kids playing with toys, and what kind of toys or what kind of general trends are they attuned with. And if you can connect your product with those big trending pieces, then I think that does offer some opportunity to be sustainable in the long run.
Great. So as we complete our session here, if there's any last questions, please feel free to submit these. So in conclusion, what went wrong with Toys R Us?
it is the debt, the leverage buyout that accumulated so much debt, and really not having the resources to invest in its own stores and technology and being either offering competitive prices or a unique experience. I think those were the main reasons why it went down.
Great. So thank you all for who joined us. Thank you, Dr. Mann, for this session. We'll see you soon on Feliciano Live. Please join us on Instagram, and we'll see you at our next session.